Welcome back to the garage. So I told you that we would be fixing around the top of the windshield where the visor was and the holes are drilled in the roof. And then we'd fix what's left of the firewall. So today we're going to work on that, and who knows, maybe we'll have an extra surprise or something. Okay, so I've been up here working already, and I've got the majority of it finished up here, but I wanted to show you how we do this. Okay, so first things first, what I've done is I've just taken the die grinder and cleaned off above the surface of it. What you'll see is inside here, there's still quite a bit of rust and other crap, right? So we got to clean that out before we can go ahead and weld it. So how I'm going to do that is I take a drill bit and I drill the hole out bigger. And by doing so, it cleans all this garbage out. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. So with that done, we have a little better substrate to work with. Now what you're going to see here is, this is actually an indent because whoever put the visor on got a little overzealous and pushed this panel in a little bit. So what we'll end up having to do is, I can feel it right here, we'll have to massage this back out, but that'll be its own repair in itself. Because what we'll have to do is get in here with a hammer, probably, and kind of bump it back out, because I can feel it on both sides here where it's been pushed in. Either that, or we can weld a stud on here and here and pull it out. Those are our two choices either way. Okay, so we can go ahead and I'm going to weld this one up, and then we'll come back and we'll repair this one. Okay, so with that done, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my die grinder and just a 36 grit little sanding disc. Okay, so the next thing I do is I get one of these fiber discs and I'll just go over it with that. Okay, so what I have here is just a ruler, and I want to show you what I'm talking about here. So you'll see the space between the ruler there and how it's touching in the center. So that's pushed out from where they went ahead and put it down here. You'll see the same thing here. So what we have to do is kind of massage that back out. Okay, so this is just a Harbor Freight stud welder. It is nothing fancy whatsoever, but it works. And for somebody like me who only uses a stud welder once every a couple of years, it works pretty good. So with that welded on there, what you can do is slide this sucker over. Like that. We'll use a little slide hammer here. And all this stuff takes kind of a learning curve. basically, once you get this sucker on here, which in my opinion is the friggin' hardest part. Okay. Let's have a look here. Oh yeah, that already feels better. Okay, now we'll take, and I'll show you. With that done, you can see how much better we are here on this line. Oops, let me turn this sucker around. So we're doing a lot better now, and I can feel it. It already feels better. It sounds stupid, but a lot of it goes by feel. Yeah, the outside side is much, much better. So the next thing we're gonna do is we'll take and I'll just massage it a little bit with the shrinking hammer. Okay, so that is much, much better. So what we can do now is, usually you can break these off. Oh, not that one. That one's on there pretty good. You have to grind it off. And then with that ground off, we'll fill this hole in this little one I made. Okay, so that is that fixed up. It's got a little low spot here that it'll need a little filler and stuff, but it doesn't have holes in it, and it's a hell of a lot more square than it was. So that, I'm happy with that. So I'll shoot a little bit of primer on it, just like I said, protect it, and we're moving on to our next project. There we go. So that is our windshield fixed. Okay, so we didn't quite get as much done this week as we had hoped, but you know what? That's life. Friday was actually my birthday, and I celebrated it by going to the junkyard. So I'll show you. I'll put in here the truck that I was picking parts from. It's actually gone all over the internet. Photos of it, because it's quite the, I don't know if I want to say combination or abomination, but yeah. Anyway, we did manage to find quite a few good pieces on it, because what the truck actually is a 1988 S10 with a 2.5 iron Duke and a T5 5-speed. So it's pretty much the same as our truck. So this is what I dragged home. So the thing is, for 1988, as a standard option, you no longer had manual brakes, you only had power brakes. So I got the booster off this one and the pedal set out of it, because that really simplifies my life. So I laid this pedal set out next to the ones that came out of my truck, which are obviously manual brake, and the bracketry itself looks identical. The only difference being that this one does not have the studs, because this one is set up for a brake booster to go through the Firewall. So I think we finally found our pedals. I pulled the column out of it because it's not broken on the collar and what have you. So here's a hint. You see the Nissan Maxima key? You'll see why in a little bit here. Anyway, I got the keys for it So I also pulled the lock cylinders. So I have all the locks that match. I took the, well, obviously I pulled the T5 out of it. Now, being an 88, this one's factory cable drive. So this is the transmission I actually wanted a year ago. Anyway, story of my life. So I pulled it out. We're going to hang on to it now for a spare. Just in case, because I don't know the history of the transmission that's now in the truck. I would much rather have this one sitting if I found out I got bad synchros or something, and I can rebuild this one and then just swap them one for one. I got the shift boot, and this is the foam piece that goes on top of the shift tower in the trans tunnel. I think I have one, but I figured, you know what, I'll grab it anyway. I got a set of door sills that aren't broke. I got battery cables that aren't hacked up like mine. That makes me quite happy. Oh, here we go. I got a heater box cover that's not rotted. It's not rotted through like the one I have. So that, again, makes me pretty happy. I pulled the engine harness just in case. I also pulled the engine control module, because as many know, a lot of the drivability concerns with these TBI Earn Dukes eventually end up traced back to the ECMs and bad solders. So I thought this was funny, because you'll remember way back about a year ago, I pulled a bunch of parts off a truck in standard auto wreckers in Scarborough. Well, that's what that is, SAW, standard auto wreckers, and that's not where I took this out of. So somebody else had already swapped the computer in the truck that I pulled this out of. And this one is a reman from GM. So that's good to have. That's really good to have. I pulled the drive shaft just to have for a spare. As I mentioned, my friend Ryan and I are going to convert his over to a 5-speed, so it just doesn't hurt to have a shaft already sitting here ready to go. So that was my birthday gift to myself. So with all the dust settled and everything in here, you can see we no longer have holes. And you can kind of see how much more square this pillar is now. So I'm quite happy with that repair. And what we'll do is after I have everything painted, I'm going to go through, and anywhere I fixed, we're going to spray cavity wax so that we have something to prevent rust from coming back. So on the outside of the firewall here, obviously I need to make this corner piece. That's going to be the first thing we do. And I'll clean up the welds in here, because we have to take and put this bracket back on here like this, which you see I've cleaned it all up and I've primed the half of it that doesn't get weld through primed. So that'll go on here like this to hold the inner fender, and we'll be laughing. My hope this week is I'm going to finish all this firewall up, and I'm going to start fixing some of the other stuff. So, excuse me. I have to fix this fender bracket, which has been cut off here. I got to finish fixing this, fix this in here, right? I got a couple of holes that are in the firewall that I took a bunch of pictures of the truck that's in the wreckers so that I could use it for reference. So I knew what holes are supposed to be in the cab and what ones are not supposed to be in the cab. So that way I can go through and fill anything that's not supposed to be here. And then what I would like to do is get this firewall prepped and clean up the bottom of the floor and everything, so that we can start moving forward to getting the cab stripped to paint, get all that paint somewhat off it anyway. Like I started here just to see how it was going to clean up, right? So that just goes to show you how not smooth the paint on the cab is. And then the problem is, every time you start doing this, I find things like there's a dent here that has to be repaired. So I would like to get this cab to the point where we are ready to put it into primer. But I don't know if we'll do all of that this week. We'll certainly do as much of it as we can.